The story of the Kingdom Hearts series is considered by many to be both complex and confusing. I believe that this is mainly because of the way that Square Enix produced the various games in the series and published them for different platforms, with each game having significant story relevance. Whilst the first and second games are on the Sony PlayStation 2, many of the other games were designed for handheld systems, which meant that if you didn't own that particular system when the game was released, then go fish, you didn't get to play it. Luckily, this problem was fixed with the release of the collections for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, where some games were remastered and others had important cutscenes ported to a single system for ease of access. But this review is about Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, so let's exercise some patience and dive into this game. Technically the second game in the series, because there was a 3 to 4 year gap between the release of Kingdom Hearts in 2002 and Kingdom Hearts 2 in 2005, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2004 to keep fans interested in the series. Commonly mislabeled as a spin-off game because of the absence of a number beside its title, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories serves as a link in the story between the first and second games. Whilst it isn't a main numbered title, it contains important story information that is necessary to have a better understanding of the plot of Kingdom Hearts 2. This is evident from the simple act of beating it, and then watching the opening cinematic of Kingdom Hearts 2. The cinematic now just makes so much more sense to me. It's important to note that the original Chain of Memories was for the Game Boy Advance, and because of that the design scope was limited to pixel art and compressed cutscenes. However, the remaster, Chain of Memories, takes the entire story and renders it in 3D, using the same engine that the first Kingdom Hearts was built in. Therefore, we have the same battle system as the first game, at face value, with the major difference, which I will go into later. This review will cover Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. In Chain of Memories, we take the role of Sora following the conclusion of Kingdom Hearts. Travelling with his companions Donald and Goofy, together they walk a lone path cut through endless grassy fields. One night, a mysterious figure appears behind Sora, warning him that in order to gain something he needs, he must lose something that is dear to him. The path the party walks eventually leads to an ominous castle. Without paying any heed to their own safety, they recklessly enter this castle and are confronted by another mysterious figure. This one warns that the fortress, named Castle Oblivion, takes the memories of those that venture deep within, and he then gives the party some cards that will allow Sora and his crew to access the higher floors. Welcome to the card system of Chain of Memories. These cards govern almost every action within the game. Love it or hate it, if you don't master the cards, you're royal flushed. As Sora climbs higher into the castle, he will visit memory versions of the worlds that he had previously visited, whilst also forgetting the people whom are the most important to him. Thankfully, though the characters he meets are the same as in the first game, the interactions in story are fresh and new, and mostly relate to the theme of memories. As mentioned before, the game relies heavily on cards. Cards are first used to create the theme of the floor that Sora is about to visit. At the start of the game, Sora has access to only a few cards to the worlds he has visited before, but later earns more that will allow him to visit every single world he had previously been to, with the exception of Deep Jungle. Now I'm just going to throw out an unpopular opinion here. I actually really liked Deep Jungle in Kingdom Hearts. Despite its tight, claustrophobic camera angles and the infuriating jumping sections, the music was always very catchy to me, on point, and I just love forests and jungles anyway. It's sad that this world is missing from Chain of Memories, but this appears to be because Disney doesn't hold the full rights to the franchise, and thus were only able to use it for the first game. Unfortunately, due to this, Sora doesn't mention Tarzan or any of the other people he met in Deep Jungle ever again, in any future title, ever. But I digress. Once you have chosen the world you wish to visit, you then get to go through it, fighting your way through countless Heartless, watching cutscenes, and climbing higher within Castle Oblivion. As mentioned before, each world has Sora meeting his old friends again, but thankfully the interactions are different, and the stories are also varied from the first game. For example, in Agrabah, this time the story revolves around how Aladdin wants to become a prince to enable Jasmine to fall in love with him. The theme of using his third wish to free the genie also comes up. This is closer to the plot of the movie than what the previous game was. I liked this variation from the original game, as it kept the dialogue interesting and not steeped in shackles of the past. In order to travel within each world, Sora needs to create the different rooms using map cards. These cards are acquired after winning battles with Heartless. There are 4 different types of map cards. Red cards influence the types of enemies and their strengths within the rooms. Green cards affect Sora's various strengths and capabilities within battle. Blue cards are special cards that create unique rooms, such as a room where you can save your game, or a room where you can buy more cards for your deck from a Moogle. Finally, there are gold cards. These are key items and are required to progress the story or access special treasures. There is also the random Joker card. This is a rare drop card that can fulfill the role of any other card, barring the gold cards. When creating rooms, Sora approaches a door and is asked to submit cards that fulfill a certain criteria. For example, he may be asked to submit a card that is of value greater than 8, and the card must be a blue card. On one occasion, you are asked to submit cards whose total value meets or exceeds 99. In such an instance, if you have a Joker card, you can submit that to fulfill the criteria and make things much easier for your life. Map cards, like battle cards, all have values, and there is a limit to the total number of map cards that you can hold. You need to always make sure you're managing your map cards so that, for example, you don't have too many cards that are valued at 0, because these are rarely used in room synthesis. Rooms will also take the form of whatever card is used to create it. In the case of using a random Joker card, the room will be randomly generated. In the rooms themselves, the gameplay is much like the original Kingdom Hearts. Sora can jump, roll, and hit things with his Keyblade. Enemies appear on the screen, as with the first game, however interacting with them will take Sora into a battle. It's always advantageous to hit a Heartless first, so that they begin the battle stunned. Thusly, you can trump your opponents. But don't wait around to become an old maid. Excepting movement and jumping, cards govern every action in battle. You begin battle with access to your whole hand and can scroll through your cards to choose a card to either play or store. You can store up to 3 cards to play at once, and the value will then be the total of the 3 cards, rather than the value of a single card. In the case of playing 3 cards together, you can sometimes activate what's called a slate, if you fulfill certain criteria. These are generally a lot more powerful than your normal attack, however you will always lose the first card placed into the slate until the end of battle, or you reload it with a special one-use item card. If you use all your cards, you can shuffle them back into your hand, however the more you do this, the longer it takes to do each time, to a maximum of 3 bars, which is not opportune in a long and drawn-out battle. During battle, as Sora attacks the enemies, sometimes green cards may pop up and bounce around the area. If Sora collects these, it adds another card to his deck. These are friend cards that represent Sora's companions, mainly Donald and Goofy. However, he can also find cards relating to his allies within the different worlds he visits, as well as Pluto. Using these cards in a slate is always a good idea, as they will never reload back into your deck when you shuffle anyway, and especially in the instance of Goofy's card, can be quite powerful. I only say that Donald's friend card is useless, because most of the bosses can absorb a magical element, and because Donald randomly casts magic, he usually inadvertently ends up healing the enemy, rather than helping Sora. Though he often seemed to die in the first Kingdom Hearts game anyway, so that doesn't really surprise me. I still love you, Donald. To create your deck, you can use cards that you find by striking objects in the field, then picking up the bouncing card that appears. Or you can buy them from a Moogle store if you choose to synthesize that type of room. Sora's deck has a limit to the number of cards that can be inserted into it. This is dictated by card points, or CP. CP is gained through leveling Sora up in battle, however it must be the option chosen when leveling. Upon leveling, Sora can choose to increase his HP, his CP, or sometimes learn a new slate. It's recommended to increase your CP as much as you can, as you need a lot in order to use cards with higher number values. The cards that Sora can use are varied, just like map cards. There are attack cards, which are denoted by the various Keyblades that Sora has acquired on his journey. They will do different amounts of damage, depending on where within Sora's 3-hit combo they are played, so please pay close attention to this. There are also magic cards, which are split into magic and summons. Magic uses a spell, whereas summon cards will act like friend cards, summoning an ally to assist Sora in battle. There are also monster cards, which are cards of the enemies and bosses you have beaten. These are usually passive abilities, but must be activated in battle. For the life of me, I didn't know how to do this until I looked it up. When in battle, you can press the touchpad on the PlayStation 4 controller to shift to these cards. Don't make my mistake and believe for half the game that they work by themselves. The final card type is item cards. These can be used to quickly reload your deck. The final thing I want to mention about the cards is that sometimes after battle, you may be asked if you want to change a card into a premium card. Premium cards have a lower CP cost, meaning you can fit more of them into your deck. However, these cards can only be used once per battle and cannot be reloaded without an item card. Whilst I like the idea of a card battle system in concept, as I really enjoyed it in Button Kaitos for the GameCube, in Rechain of Memories the battle system is action based, meaning that you need to be dodging out of the way of enemy attacks, especially when fighting the numerous bosses. Luckily, there is a way to cancel out the attack of an enemy, but likewise they can do the same to you. If a card is played, a card that has a higher value will cancel out and break the card of the opponent. So, if you played a 1 for example, and the enemy played a 2, then your card is broken and you are open to be attacked. 0 cards will always break an attack, even a slate. However, if played first, it can always be broken by any other card. In theory, this system seems great, but I found that the game was often an exercise in frustration, as I ran around desperately trying to avoid the enemy's attacks whilst trying to get my own attacks in. I particularly had difficulty with one of the bosses, Vexen, on the second time you battle him, because his weapon is a shield and he can deflect most of your blows using it, without the need to use cards. Enemies that are fast also posed a problem. If the going gets tough, then you can Jin Rummy it out of there by running to the edge of the field and waiting for the escape bar to complete. This only works during normal battles, however. If you manage to beat the game, then you can play through it again as Riku. Usually if there is the option to play through a game again as a different character, I no thanks the option and move on, uno? However, Riku's story is different and takes place during and after that of Sora's. In order to get the full experience of the game, you need to play Riku's story too. His story plays basically the same in every way, except for in battles. In battle, his deck is fixed, meaning you cannot customize it. It changes based on the world that he is visiting. If he plays a card that's the same number as the enemy card, he enters into a duel with them, whereby he has to successfully pit higher value cards against the enemy. If this succeeds, he can then perform a powerful attack. Additionally, when he breaks enemy cards, his dark meter grows. When this reaches max, Riku can turn into his dark form. This form is faster and more powerful than his regular form, and can perform powerful slates with his weapon, unlike normal Riku. The only drawback is that if he is attacked by the enemy, he will revert back to his normal form. I often found that turning into Riku's dark form and using 3 9 cards in a slate was a great way to do well, as it activated his ability Dark Aura, which saw him do massive amounts of damage. Where Sora had Donald, Goofy and others to assist as companion cards, Riku only has King Mickey. Using the Mickey card is the only way, except in using one particular enemy card, to heal in battle, which means you need to dodge and play it safe a little more regularly than in Sora's campaign. Overall, despite some of the frustrations that I had with the game, I did enjoy Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories and would recommend it to anyone that is looking for a full Kingdom Hearts experience through playing all the games. I would caution though that losing multiple times can be anger inducing, so if you have a problem with anger management, then maybe give this one a miss. By the way, what type of card games are you into? When I was young, I played a bit of Magic the Gathering and the Pokemon trading card game, but these days I'm partial to Uno. Let me know in the comments! As always, thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye guys!